Hi, I'm Maryanne, your host of When Life's Unfair. As a mental health counselor, I've seen how life can lift us up one moment and knock us down the next. In this podcast, we'll talk about the messy, beautiful, and sometimes painful parts of just being human, and how those experiences can lead to real growth. This is a place for reflection, compassion, and honest conversation about what it means to grow through what we go through. I am so glad you're here to walk this journey with me. Have you ever been bitter? I have. For me, bitterness was born out of my own unresolved hurt. It feels like throughout my life, pain has found a way to me again and again and again. And instead of facing it, I would stuff it down, pretend that it didn't bother me, and just move on. I remember a time when I was a young woman, I had volunteered for a 2-year project to bring women in the military together. I was so excited. It was something I truly, truly believed in. But during that time, I faced a lot of criticism from the very people I worked with. And I'll never forget one particular night. The board was having an overnight site visit. I was excited. Here I am. This is what I've done. Oh my goodness. And we were supposed to meet in a hotel room to just discuss the upcoming event, etc., etc. When I walked in, everyone was already in the room waiting for me. Well, I thought this was just another planning session, but I quickly learned that the meeting was about me. They went around the room, listing all the things that I wasn't doing well, all the ways I was falling short. I sat there, keeping a stiff upper lip, thanking them for all of their feedback. But when the meeting ended, I walked to my car, I sat down, and I cried until there were no more tears left. That hurt. Well, I carried that hurt for years, even after the event turned out to be wonderful and successful. That's what bitterness does. It lingers long after the moment has passed. It becomes the quiet echo of pain that we never processed. You've probably heard the phrase, the root of bitterness. It's often used as a metaphor for unresolved hurt, resentment, anger that festers and begins to poison our lives from the inside out. When we let negative thoughts take root, they shape our emotions. And those emotions, well, they shape our actions. And it just becomes the cycle, one that not only affects us, but everyone around us. Bitterness can grow from disappointment, unmet expectations, unkind words, or injustice. It seems that it can stem from unforgiveness or even from believing that we're somehow above being hurt. And when bitterness takes hold, well, it's heavy. It steals our joy. It robs us of our peace. It keeps us chained to the very people and moments we want to be free from. Now, I am not proud of this, but I've had moments where I secretly felt relief when, even maybe satisfaction, when something bad happened to somebody who had hurt me. And maybe you felt that too. It's uncomfortable to admit, but it's real. Looking back, I can see it clearly now. I didn't want them to suffer because of who they were. I wanted them to suffer because of my own pain. my own disappointment, my own unmet expectations. As a mental health counselor, I've learned I have to be honest about that. I have to constantly monitor my own emotions, or I risk becoming bitter instead of better. Over time, I realized that nurturing bitterness only traps me in a prison of my own making. So I began doing the work, the real work, the intentional work to break free. How do I get through bitterness? Well, there's many ways. How do I loosen its grip on me when it feels so tightly wound in my heart? Well, here are some of the things I've learned. I need to acknowledge the hurt. Bitterness often grows in silence. We push it down in the pain and we pretend that it doesn't bother us, or we ignore it, but it only feeds. It feeds on it, on our hearts. I have to give myself permission to name what happened and how it made me feel. I can't heal what I refuse to see. After I allow myself to grieve. Bitterness often hides grief. Grief over what is lost, what never was, or what should be or could have been different. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. Grieving isn't a weakness. It's the body's way of releasing an emotional weight. I have to separate the person from the pain. I acknowledge that somebody has done wrong to me without it letting it define who I am, who my worth is. I shift my focus from what they did to how I want to heal. And that's how I reclaim my power. I also practice empathy with boundaries. Boundaries is a whole other subject one day we'll get into. Empathy doesn't mean that I'm excusing behavior. It means recognizing that people often act from their own unhealed pain. You can see that truth without allowing more harm. Forgiving is about freeing myself, not inviting more hurt. I replace this thought over and over and over again of what they had done with reflection. When bitter thoughts replay, I have to pause and ask, what lesson can I take from this? What strength did I gain through this pain? Bitterness keeps me stuck into this story, but reflection helps me rewrite it. And I speak life over my wound. I use my voice, my story, to replace the old narrative. I say it out loud. I release this. I choose peace. I deserve joy. Healing begins when my words start aligning with the freedom that I want. And I choose connection over isolation. Those who know me would probably never guess that I'm an introvert, but I really am. And so it's so easy for me to isolate, which isn't healthy. Bitterness makes me want to withdraw, to protect myself. It's a defense mechanism. But healing, well, healing happens in safe spaces through honest conversations, counseling, or a supportive community. I'm not alone, and neither are you, my dear friends. You are not alone. I have also learned to cultivate gratitude, even for the painful lessons. Gratitude does not erase pain. It softens its edges, but it doesn't erase it. When I start noticing what is good, bitterness loses its power to dominate my story. So, healing doesn't happen overnight. It takes work. It takes practice. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So my friends, my dear friends, please be patient with yourself. Growth, well, it often looks like grace. Slow, steady, and unseen. Until one day, you realize that the burden feels lighter. Breaking through bitterness isn't about pretending that I was never hurt, but it's choosing to stop letting that hurt define who I am. Because every time I release a grudge, I make space for peace. And every time I choose compassion over resentment, I become freer, lighter, and more like myself again. When we hold bitterness towards somebody, we stay chained to them. But when we forgive, we set ourselves free. And that's a whole other topic we'll talk about. So I'll leave you with this question. What bitterness are you ready to release? Because when we choose to heal, we choose to love over resent. And that's when life's unfair moments can become the beginning of something truly beautiful. Thank you for spending this time with me on When Life's Unfair. I'm Maryanne, and I hope today's conversation has offered you some comfort, insight, or a little light on your own journey. If you'd like to explore these ideas further, you can visit storieswithmaryanne.com, where you'll find episodes, notes, and resources to support you. I'd love to hear from you and connect about your thoughts and experiences. Until we meet again, I'll leave you with a blessing that has always brought me peace. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the warm rays of sun fall upon your home. And may the land of a friend always be near.